All right, so I'm here today at Lending. I'm here with Wendy Kays, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Wendy and Lending and what they do. Of course, Lending is KREIA's platinum sponsor and has been for several years. So, Wendy, why don't you kind of introduce yourself to KREIA members and those who are going to watch the video later on? Tell us who you are and kind of how you got into lending.
All right, so I have been with Lending for 7 years now. I had no industry experience whatsoever. I was hired as the office manager. I kind of learned the industry as I went along.
Okay. So, were you familiar with real estate when you got hired on? Had you had any real estate experience?
No, I had no real estate experience. I had been an office manager for 18 years for an office equipment company locally.
Okay. So, what is your role with Lending today? I know you do a lot of the transactional stuff. What exactly do you do when somebody calls Lending and they're talking to Wendy? How do you help them out?
Okay, so I'm now the Vice President of Operations with Lending. So if they call in and they need a loan, I will go ahead and get their information, their contract, their rehab scope and budget form.
Sure.
Order the appraisal, order the title work. We'll get everything ready for the closing.
Okay. So Lending's a private lender. They're not like a traditional bank. And so when you guys mainly deal with like flippers and wholesalers and stuff like that, what's really kind of your niche? I mean, how do you guys provide a valuable service to this clientele? Like, what makes you guys different?
I think what makes us different is our service, our level of service. I mean, we're really focused on taking care of the investor. We walk the investor through the process, take care of everything on the back end. So all they have to focus on is the actual rehab itself.
Finding the deal and making it fixed up and selling it.
Yes, and we can close quickly. We can fund draws the same day, which is not something that a national company can do.
Sure. So that quick close is really important in today's market right now. So we're at record low inventory in Louisville and many places in the United States right now. I think the average number of houses on the market in our market is usually 6,000 to 7,000, and it's been 1,000 or less for the last 6 months or so. So that ability to quickly close is super important for anybody. And so what's your average closing time, and what's the fastest that you've ever been able to close on a deal for somebody?
Our average is usually between 7 to 14 business days.
Okay.
We just need to run the title work and have an appraisal done. So that typically takes around a week to do.
Okay.
The fastest we've closed the next business day before.
Yeah.
With an experienced investor that we've done business with before, we can get to the closing table very quickly.
In one day.
We closed in one day, yes.
So you got the appraiser out there and had the title work done and everything, knocked it out in one day.
Well, we made sure that the title work was done. We had the appraisal in order. We went ahead and closed and
that's awesome.
Got it done, yeah.
That's a super valuable service for any investor. So I got a couple questions here I'm going to look at just to keep myself on track so I don't forget anything I was going to ask you. So you guys are the KREIA Platinum sponsor. How did you first learn about KREIA? Was it through Lending, or were you aware of KREIA before that?
I had never heard of KREIA prior to working with Lending. Back then it was Mortgage Man.
Okay.
I started going to the meetings with Mike and kind of manning the vendor table.
Sure.
And from there it just kind of grew. I started meeting everyone at KREIA, going to the happy hours, the game nights, networking with other investors. It's been really valuable.
Sure. So let's see. So common mistakes. You guys work with flippers, wholesalers, sailors all the time. There's a lot of people getting into real estate today. There's a lot of people who have been in real estate for a long time, and they're struggling, frankly, to find deals and keep their head above water. So what are some common mistakes that you're seeing with some of your clients in the market today?
Some of the common mistakes are not being thorough with their rehab scope and budget form, kind of rushing through it.
Sure.
Not accounting for everything that needs to be done when they're rehabbing the house to make it a true value, because with today's market, no one wants to buy a home that's been rehabbed and then have to come in and do additional work.
Sure.
Another issue is investors not lining up their contractors prior to the project and
Yeah.
then scrambling to find a plumber or an electrician, and that holding up the project, which, in turn creates, they have to pay more interest. It
Their
creates
holding
more
time.
costs. Their holding costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Increase.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you're using a private lender. I mean, part of the advantage of the service is the quick close and the ability to kind of be more flexible with your clients, but it's not as cheap necessarily as it would be going with a bank. But there's give and take there. So if you're not ready to do this project, and like you said, you're, especially with mechanical contractors right now, finding reliable mechanical contractors and getting inspections done in a timely period has been really difficult in Jefferson County anyway. So
Inspections are the absolute worst right now. I mean, it's taking, weeks to months to get an electrical inspection
Yeah.
done,
yeah,
which is really hurting the investors right now. So if you have a professional contractor who has a relationship with the Metro inspectors, that's a huge value.
sure, yeah, okay. And let's see here. So, kind of piggybacking on that, what are your thoughts on today's market? How hot it is? You've seen it in different times. Thoughts on today's market and where you think this is kind of going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I've never seen anything like today's market. I mean, just the low inventory, the high selling costs, it's incredible. I don't think anyone could have predicted this a year ago when COVID started.
Yeah,
Everyone assumes that the market's going to cool down and correct itself. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I would think that would be coming within the next
Yeah.
couple of years.
and what do you think is going to make that change happen? Because right now, if the supply doesn't change, then the demand's still going to be there. So there must be something that changes to cool off the market, whether it's
Well, I would think interest rates increasing, inflation increasing. I don't know what's going to happen with, people getting kicked out of their homes and foreclosures. I mean, there's so many factors that are
Yeah.
going to affect the market.
So on the interest rate topic, I know there was just a bump here in the last 30 days on the interest rates. Do you think that that's going to continue to go up, or do you think that was kind of temporary? I mean, any thoughts on that?
I think it'll be incremental, but they will go up again. I think they have to,
Yeah.
just to kind of help correct the market.
Yeah. A lot of people that have been investing for the last 5 or 10 years have never really known, the traditional interest rates of, 8, 10, 12% back in the day. The first house that I bought was in 2005, and I think my interest rate was like 7.25 or right around 7%, and I thought that was a good deal at the time. And today, I mean, somebody wouldn't even be able to afford a house if they had to pay 7%. That's kind of the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the interest rates go back up, then you have less people that are able to afford these houses, depending on what they're making and the value of the house. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, because if the interest rates rise, but people's incomes don't rise, and there's not enough, inventory, it will have to cool down.
Yeah. So what's your best advice for somebody looking to get into real estate today that's brand new to the industry, knowing what you know in your experience, kind of what would you advise them to do?
Don't watch HGTV. Please don't. But join an organization like KREIA. Do your due diligence, network, find a mentor, gain that experience from someone who has gone through this process.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest that a newbie just go out and buy a house and decide that they're going to flip it in 2 months and make tons of cash.
Yeah. While that is possible, it's not necessarily the norm.
Right. I mean, there could be dumb luck, but you really need to do your homework.
Yeah. And and you do real estate investing now as well, right?
Correct, yes. I've pretty much done a little bit of everything. I've rehabbed and done fix and flip, rentals, Airbnb, I've wholesaled.
Yeah. So what's your personal favorite strategy?
I love flipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the quick cash. I enjoy the rehab process itself, the design work, kind of managing the project, seeing a big ugly house transformed into something beautiful
Yeah.
that someone wants to live in.
Yeah. And so, you know, how long have you been investing in real estate?
I would say over the past 5 years. I didn't start, initially. Like I mentioned before, I've been doing this for about 7 years now. I started flipping actually for the company, as rentals became vacant. I
Turning
started
those over.
turning them over, renovating them, and then selling the properties. And I just kind of caught the bug from there.
Yeah, it's addictive for sure,
It
especially
is.
being around Mike and some of these other guys. So if you had to start all over, I mean, you've only been doing it for 5 or 7 years, but you've got good experience. Is there anything that you would do differently, knowing what you know now from the start? Would you do anything differently?
No, I kind of like the path that I was able to take. I learned on the job and then just went slowly. I don't think that I would have enjoyed it as well or done, been as successful if I had just like stopped my 9 to 5 job and jumped wholeheartedly into investing. I kind of like doing one project at a time
Sure.
and focusing on it and doing it right and well.
So don't quit your day job when you start real estate investing.
Correct. Yes. Don't quit your day job.
Yeah, I see a lot of people doing that too. And while that can work for people, if you get into a bad deal and something goes wrong and you don't have that extra income to support yourself, it can get pretty scary. So I totally agree with you. Keep on to your W-2 job as long as you can. And then once you've got a good thing going, then leave it at that point in time.
Yeah, build on that experience and move forward.
Sure. So Wendy, can you tell us how to get a hold of you if anybody watching this video wants to reach out and contact you about loans or anything else?
Okay, you can call me at 502-400-3015, or you can check out our website, mmlending.com. We're happy to help.
Sounds good. I appreciate you coming on and letting us learn a little bit more about you and MM Lending.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it.
Thank you.